Hey guys, welcome to another Pitwall News video where we talk about F1. There's no doubt Red Bull has been the center of attention all week after announcing Checo's departure and Liam Lawson's promotion from the sister team, but there's another team that will hopefully give more to talk about for next year. But before we begin, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe for more F1 news. Alright guys, so some exciting news coming from Aston Martin. We all know they signed Adrian Newey for next year as well as other key personnel like Enrico Cardili. Looks like they will have car deals starting in January, so in a couple of weeks. According to Autoracer, there has been some structural changes in Aston Martin. After reaching an agreement with Honda to become a full-fledged constructor team, Dan Fallows was removed from the position of technical director following a disappointing 18 months of development. Enrico Cardillo was hired shortly after, taking his place. The former Ferrari technical director has decided to embrace this new challenge and take the reins of the project from Lawrence Stroll, who also successfully signed Adrian Newey, outbidding Ferrari. Ferrari did not want to enter a bidding war with Aston Martin, especially after offering the former Red Bull engineer everything he wanted, not just from a financial perspective. This means Cardillo will begin work before Adrian Newey, who is busy with an extended period of gardening leave. The Italian technician will coordinate the team's various departments, aerodynamics, chassis, mechanics, and will report directly to the future CTO, Chief Technical Officer, Adrian Newey, who will take on the same role he had in Red Bull in recent years. Now here's where things get more interesting. Aston Martin's new wind tunnel will be operational starting in February and will be primarily used for the development of the 2026 car. While we have no guarantee that Aston Martin will be as competitive next year as they were at the start of 2023, there is a good chance that their car will be competitive, and that is very exciting and better for the sport. I've always said, the more competition, the better the spectacle. And moving on to Red Bull, Sky Germany's Sasha Roos has made some interesting remarks linking Oscar Piastri to a seat in Red Bull, as well as some words on Tsunoda. She said, "I can see Yuki Tsunoda ending up at Aston Martin sooner or later. Tsunoda is supported by Honda, and they will be Aston Martin's engine supplier from 2026. But here is where it gets interesting. Roos said, "I believe that Red Bull would also like to sign Oscar Piastri. There are of course good connections to his manager, the former Red Bull driver Mark Webber. And with Verstappen, you always have to expect him to say, 'Bye, thanks, that's it.'" The current state of Red Bull is not great. If they hadn't scored the maximum points in the first 5 or 6 races, Verstappen wouldn't have become world champion. It's true that the development of this past season's Red Bull wasn't the greatest at all, and that's why there's no guarantee that Verstappen would like to stay with the team if his car isn't competitive. But what did surprise me was when Roos said that there are good connections between Red Bull and Piastri through his manager Mark Webber. Let's not forget Multi21 and how Webber wasn't satisfied with his time in Red Bull. But maybe as Oscar's manager, Webber might actually be in negotiations and request equal treatment to Verstappen, or in the event that Oscar replaces Max the role as the number 1 driver. We don't know anything of what's going on behind closed doors, so take this with a grain of salt. Only time will tell if Oscar moves to Red Bull. Now Christian Horner has given us some more info on the reason why Checo and Red Bull parted ways. Horner said, "Checo, he's been a fantastic member of this team. It's been a tough year for him, but he's a great person, and of course he played such a key role in the 21 Drivers' Championship, 22 and 23 Constructors. He was second in the Drivers' World Championship last year. He's won 5 Grands Prix in our cars." But he reflected after the season, and we sat down and discussed it last week about what are the next steps, and he's decided that he's going to take a bit of time out. We're sad to see him leave the team, but obviously it's time for him to spend with his young family as well and reflect on what he wants to do for the future. It definitely wasn't an easy year for Checo. He started off strong with 4 podiums in the first 5 races, but once they got to Imola, Checo struggled a lot with the car. He wasn't comfortable with the car, and it's very logical to say that the pressure to perform got to him. And not just that, the media constantly attacked him about whether he was keeping his seat or not while he was underperforming. It's possible that mentally Checo was being affected and maybe he didn't have the full support of the team. Continuing with Checo, the driver who replaces him at Red Bull had some nice things to say about him. Liam Lawson claims to respect Perez and that now he has big shoes to fill in Red Bull. Liam said, "I mean, honestly, it goes back to when I was a kid and I remember watching a race that I think really was one of his big sort of putting him on the map, was in Malaysia and in the Sauber, and he was fighting with Fernando Alonso. And I remember that race as a kid, watching that, so to be competing against these guys now anyways, to put things into perspective, is quite crazy. And I have a huge amount of respect for what he's done in the sport and what he's done for this team. So yeah, in a way, it's probably big shoes to fill, but obviously it's exciting. And I say Liam claims to respect Checo because his attitude on track towards Checo hasn't been the nicest, like flicking him off during the Mexico GP. And I don't believe it's only towards Checo, I think it's towards Hispanic drivers in general, including Alonso. Let's not forget, Alonso branded Lawson an idiot after an aggressive defensive move during the United States Grand Prix sprint, with the pair seen in animated conversation in Parc Ferme at the end of the race. Lawson was also heard criticizing Alonso for blocking him during qualifying in Qatar. However, he was quickly informed that Stroll was the Aston Martin driver in his way on that occasion. Liam recently stated that as Felipe Drugovich doesn't have a seat next season, he said he, referring to Drugovich, was faster than Lance Stroll in FP1 at last year's Abu Dhabi GP and finished the session in third position. And in 2024, he was also faster than Fernando Alonso in practice. I don't know about you guys, but I don't think practice sessions are good performance benchmarks. I mean, after all, they are just meant for practice. Who knows what type of configuration each car has? And it also appears that Lawson is keen on making as many rivalries for next season as possible. So what do you guys think about Liam Lawson's recent comments? Go ahead and let me know down in the comments. Since this is a new channel, I would appreciate it if you guys liked this video and subscribed or even shared it with your friends and family. Thank you so much and have a great night.